Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 29th of June. I've been struck not only from the readings of morning prayer of late, and especially today, but also just in my general thinking and prayer time with the Lord, and struck by the fact that God is always faithful. God never deserts us. God may see us going in the wrong direction. He may see us disobeying him, but somehow he remains with us. Not because he's benevolent, not because he, as was it Nelson was purported to have done, turned a blind eye to the situation. No, God is faithful because that is who God is. And yet we might suffer those consequences of our actions that I have spoken of and referenced before, but God remains faithful. For example, in the reading today, King Saul is not the most popular king. There are those that are opposed to him, and historically he does prove to be a bad king, an incredible man, a great potential. Everything could have gone so well, but I think the power went to his head and he lost the plot, as it were, as happens to so many in leadership, whether it is business or in politics. And unfortunately, politics is constantly before us, and we see it only too vividly throughout the world, but especially here in South Africa. And one of the neighboring towns in Israel was attacked by the Ammonites, and they threatened to destroy them, or if they were to surrender, then they would gouge out the right eye of every man. And of course, the town was a little bit shocked and horrified by this, and they sent out messengers appealing for help. And King Saul heard about it, and the Lord's spirit came upon him, and he organized a tremendous army which completely routed the Ammonites. And here's a sign then of God's faithfulness to Saul and to the people of Israel, even though they had rejected God as their king and wanted a human being, a man, as a king in the place of God. And even though God knew that Saul would turn against him ultimately and would need to be removed, God nevertheless stood by the king that he had chosen. And of course, this will bear relevance to you and me too. We're not perfect. None of us are perfect. But and that's wonderful to know that God will remain faithful, because that's who God is. Because if God was only on our side when we were perfect, and then not on our side, maybe opposed to us when we were not perfect, well, we'd be in a spot of bother. God is always faithful. He must be faithful. Otherwise, he would have to just reject us and throw us out. So it's not an excuse to do the wrong thing, but it's to say, remember the faithfulness of God and do your best to be faithful to him in return. Folks, have a wonderful week, and we'll chat again tomorrow. God bless.